morning, good afternoon, and a very good evening to you, the good people of the tube. Hope you're well today, hope you're feeling grand, and all is well in your world. Hello there, everybody. Today's video is kind of a discussion vid. So yes. Oh, by the way, the intro jam. I don't know where that came from, but that was literally... I plugged in the HX, and that's what came out. Unfortunately, it had to be a take two, because the first take, the camera stopped recording halfway, well, about 2 minutes in. And I noticed about 4 minutes in that it wasn't recording anymore, so I had to do it again, and the second take was totally different to the first. But that was... I set up a camera and plugged in the Line 6 HX and put it onto that particle verb effect, which is what you can hear. And that was the first thing that came out, and it just took me away. But the Jag and that and the orange, it was just like gone. And I would say the best way to listen to that intro jam would be to lay down and close your eyes and let that take you. Because there's something in that. It definitely took me away. And it put me actually in a better mindset to talk about what I want to talk about. Hence the title of this video. Because well, let's get into it. So on Q&A Wednesday, I got a question basically saying, like, you know, the question I got was like, you know, because I'm struggling to make a career in music, is there any hope for beginners, you know, or should they just give up on stuff like that? And I answered no, of course there isn't. Of course, you know, you should never ever give up on playing guitar. If you love playing guitar, you should play guitar. But it got me thinking about the whole, and I've wanted to do a video about this for a while, kind of discussion talking vid. So I do apologise. There will be a lot of waffling and tangenting, so just bear with me. But I want to hear all of your opinions, people of the tube, to this kind of like thing, if you will, that's kind of like I've seen around and about here and there, and I definitely don't agree with it. But I wanted to have a bit of, you know, I just want to kind of like get my little my 5 pence in, so to say, and I want to hear your 5 pence as well, people of the tube. So in the comment section below, let me know about what you think to the question at hand. And the question at hand is the electric guitar dead? My immediate, blunt, straight to the point answer is definitely not. No way near. In all fairness, I would say there's probably, well, judging by what I've read, there's more guitars being sold now than there ever has been. And there's more guitars, like, you know, in kind of rotation, so to say, than there ever has been. Granted, some of the guitars that are being sold, the high-end guitars, are being sold to kind of like, you know, people who use them as an investment, you know what I mean? People who buy, like, for instance, like the Gary Moore replica Fiesta Red Stratocaster, the people who are buying that one are kind of buying it and using it as an investment, not as a guitar. And same with a lot of vintage instruments these days, they end up in, like, you know, glass cases, and people don't tend to use them as guitars, they tend to use them as investments. So I can't 100% agree with that concept. It feels a bit alien to me. Why would you buy a guitar not to play it, kind of thing? It just feels a bit weird. But that's not really the point. The point is the guitar dead in popular culture? No, but I have to agree it's definitely weakened, like massively. I would say that the impact of the guitar in the last couple of years has definitely declined. There's still a very strong guitar community out there, and as long as one person is playing guitar, the guitar's not dead. So I don't really understand where this kind of like, you know, this idea of, you know, is the guitar dead comes from. It's been kind of like a discussion over the last couple of years. I've seen it about on YouTube and in certain places here and there, and I'm a bit kind of like, well, no, I don't agree with that. You know, people of the tube, what do you think? Do you think the guitar is dead and kind of out of the mainstream? Because I would beg to differ. I mean, yes, definitely. It's, if you listen to kind of maybe popular music, the guitar is definitely taking a backseat, if not there at all. But the fact of the matter is, there are still guitar bands around that are kind of like making really good music, and like, you know, the guitar is still a very current instrument, and I think it always will be. And I remember talking to my dad a while back. And he was saying in the 70s, you know, when there was the big synthesizer craze in the 80s, they were saying the guitar was dead then, and look what happened, it's still around, you know what I mean? So I think it's just a cycle thing more than anything, this. I don't think it's necessarily, you know, oh, the guitar's dead and it's never coming back. I reckon it's more of a cycle, you know, things go in cycles, things, you know, what kind of, you know, it's that kind of saying of like, you know, what goes around comes around kind of thing. And I do feel that, that's kind of what's happening at this point in time. Will there be a resurgence of a guitar? Possibly, but I don't think it'll be the guitar in the way we know it, if that makes any sense. I don't think, especially with technology being what it is today, I think the guitar will come back with a different approach, if that makes any sense. You know, I don't think it'll come back as like, you know, a thingy. It'll come back more maybe as... Well, it'll come back as something we don't know yet. You know what I mean? The guitar hasn't gone away, so it doesn't need to come back. But in the mainstream, it does, if you know what I mean. Because a lot of mainstream music these days is not made with guitars or instruments in general. I mean, how many songs have you heard that use the same snare and bass drum sample, you know, or use the same kind of like, you know, synth sound and stuff like that in popular, you know, popular music today? There's a lot of rehashed stuff, you know what I mean? A lot of rehashed samples and a lot of stuff used, and it's just very, very samey. And that's just, you know, and that says a lot more about the music industry in general today, in these days, than it does kind of like, you know, than, you know, whatever. I feel that musicians are definitely not as well respected by, I don't know the word it is, like, musicians are kind of like, not necessarily overlooked. I'm trying to think of the exact words I'm looking for, but being a live, well, wanting to be a live musician, I've noticed a substantial drop off in interest in live music, interest in, you know, the guitar as a live instrument, and especially guitar solos, and also kind of like interest in actually paying musicians for their work, what they do. You know, there's a substantial drop off in that, you know what I mean? And also the fact of the matter is, with technology being so good these days, you technically don't even need a guitarist or a bass player or a drummer or a keyboard player. You know, you've got the ability to actually create these songs and stuff out of just samples that you can get, like, you know, on anything, you know, GarageBand, you know what I mean? It's a strange, it's I've got to say, I do feel it's a worrying time for instruments like the guitar, bass, drums, you know, and musicians in general who have really worked at it for years and years and years. But I still think there is a place for it, you know what I mean? It's definitely not dead. I definitely dispute the fact when people go around. I've seen a few videos of people saying, "Oh yeah, the guitar's definitely dead. It's you know, it's an archaic instrument. It doesn't have any place in popular music or music in general anymore. It's not all about whatever." I would say that's absolute nonsense myself. I think that's absolute, you know, you know, it doesn't make. I think that's absolute nonsense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. But I do agree in the fact of the guitar has definitely taken a back seat to everything it is kind of like, you know, around this point in time. You don't see many pop artists or anything like that with guitars kind of like, you know, leading the way, so to say. It's very, very kind of like, they're orientated in a different kind of way, either be kind of like, you know, bass or whatever, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. The music industry in this day and age is a very, very strange creature, and I do feel it's very, very broken, to say, for the lack of a better word. And I do feel that musicians are being overlooked. I feel live music is, especially for unsigned bands, live music has taken a nosedive. I've seen it. I've experienced it as well. I mean, like, where are we? 2019. 2016, 2017 were really good year, like the last years of live music for me. Like where I would go out gigging, and the places would be absolutely rammed full of people. And then last year, well, actually, in all fairness, 2017, towards the end of 2017, I noticed it kind of started to slant. and then 2018 last year really got bad, and then this year is pretty. If you're an unknown band, it's really, really hard to get people pulled in, especially if you're doing originals as well. It's even harder. But and even if you're a cover band, you're not doing covers that people want to hear, then it's really difficult. But again, coming back to that question I got asked in Q&A about should we give up, if we can't make a career in music? No, definitely not. Just because it doesn't mean anything. In all fairness, I feel that because the guitar isn't mainstream, because it's not mainstream, I would definitely agree on the fact that the guitar and the guitar solo and expressing yourself through the guitar itself is definitely not a mainstream thing to do in this day and age. I would definitely agree with that. But because it's not a mainstream instrument, it makes me want to push it more. You know what I mean? It makes me want to do big, long guitar solos. It makes me want to go, no, this is what I'm going to do. Because it's like, it's against the norm, so to say. And it's like, and also it's a thing that I love doing because I love to express myself. And that's the only way I can express myself, through that kind of that way, so to say. So I feel that it's time more than ever now to be pushing the guitar as an instrument like that, and the bass and the drums, and just like bands in general, and certain genres of music as well. Because there is so much generic nonsense out there that's just kind of like cookie cutter music for the masses. You know what I mean? And I feel that kind of like, it will change. That has to change at some point, and it will change. It's just a case of like, when and where and how. You know what I mean? It happened with the punk movement. It happened with, the Jimi Hendrix, blues, the punk movement, grunge, Britpop, all sorts of stuff, new metal. All these movements have come along at certain points in time, and they've snuffed out the cookie cutter nonsense, you know what I mean? And then and what's come from that is this whole array of original bands that are kind of like take a world by storm, so to say. So the music industry does run on cycles. I definitely feel that in this day and age, those cycles are a lot harder to enforce, just because of how locked down the music industry is. Back in the day, there definitely were opportunities for bands like, say, Oasis and the Sex Pistols and people like Jimi Hendrix and stuff like that to make waves in the music industry over the pop artists of the day. Whoever they are. So, but I do feel that it's going to take more of an underground approach than kind of an overground approach, like not the wombling way. But I do feel it's going to take a bit more of a kind of like an underground approach to start. Music has kind of gone underground, live music and stuff like that, and original music in general has kind of gone underground. But like I say, that's a good thing, but it's not at the same time, because there's no infrastructure to support it. Like if you think of a band like Oasis, when Oasis signed to Creation Records, there was an infrastructure there to support bands like them and to kick them out on tour and to go, right, you're going to be touring these 2 months non-stop, going around the UK, and you're going to be promoting your album, and there isn't that there anymore. The infrastructure and the money to reinforce that is no longer there for up-and-coming bands, unless you sign to a major label, in which case you are their puppet. And you will do what they say when they say it. It's like if they tell you to jump off a cliff, you will jump off a cliff. There's no infrastructure there for original artists to think on their own terms and do things in their own way. And I personally think that anybody who says that there is well, it's not lying, but I don't think it's. I don't see it myself. It's just a mess. It's just a mess. I've kind of gone off the point here, but kind of, I don't know. Have I? I don't know. As you all know, I like to tangent. It's good fun. I tend to tangent when I get passionate about something. And I am passionate about this. It does really annoy me when people are saying, oh, the guitar's dead. And it's like, no, it's not. Give over. You know what I mean? The guitar is so far from dead. It's not even, it's not even it's not even like, I don't know. I don't think it's even its midlife for guitar yet. I think it's still in its teenage years, personally. It's still finding out what it is. You know what I mean? Because it constantly goes from one thing to another, and there's always a way to reinvent it. So it's kind of like, you know, it never gets to that kind of like, you know, it never ages, the guitar. It just kind of grows up. It just matures. But yeah, I don't like the whole concept of people saying, oh yeah, the guitar's dead. It definitely is dead. And yeah, in popular music, yes, definitely, I would agree. But the fact of the matter is, it is still there in some respect, you know what I mean? But sadly, like, you know, musicians and guitarists, bass players, drummers, keyboard players, you know, session guys are taken for granted a lot more these days, and it is a lot harder these days to make waves in music than it ever has been, definitely. To get your foot in the door is almost an impossibility, but it's definitely no reason to kind of like, you know, to say, oh, I'm not doing this, it's not worth it, so to say. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Do I think the guitar's dead? No. Do I think it'll come back around? Definitely. Will it come back around as we think it? I don't know. But I've got to say, as long as people are playing the guitar, it can't die. It's as simple as that. It's, you know, it's the same as anything really. As long as people, you know, you can't have the end of the world if one person's still living. You know what I mean? In my opinion, you know, people, you know, if that one person's still there and surviving, you know, it's you know, it's not the extinction of mankind. You know, you're just endangered. So, you know, could you say the guitar's an endangered instrument? I would highly doubt that myself. I don't. That's a question altogether. Is the guitar endangered? I would say it's definitely endangered in popular music, in the underground music, and in like the blues circuit, and you know, certain underground kind of like rock clubs and stuff like that. Definitely not in a million years. There's still a lot of people out there who love listening to what the guitar can do, and the expression the guitar makes, and the noise it makes, and you know, there's still so much love for the guitar and guitar music that, you know, the whole concept of people saying, oh, the guitar's dead, it has no place, is totally nonsense to me. But like I say, it is definitely harder to get your foot in the door with guitar-based music in this day and age. I mean, I've been trying for years and years and years to get the trio off the ground, and I couldn't get anywhere with doing original music. I mean, it could be because my songs are crap, you know what I mean? Which, you know, they are. My songs aren't very good at all, and I can admit that. But yeah, and I can't sing, and you know what I mean. It's nothing really kind of like, you know, I don't know. Maybe it was never meant to happen. I don't know. But anyway, that's beside the point. But like I say, it's like there is no better time, I think, to pick up the guitar or the bass or the drums or playing keyboards or whatever, or singing, because I do feel it's kind of like, you know, just because it's not popular, it's not cool to do it. And I remember I got asked once by a young person. Somebody asked me and John Joe. They asked John Joe, they asked John Joe, what do you play? And he goes, I'll play the drums. And this person was like, oh, that's really cool. And they asked, what do you play? I said, play the guitar. And this is the response I got. What do you play? I'll play the guitar. Why? That was the response I got. And that was about 2017. That was kind of like, you know, that when things started to kind of go a bit downhill, so to say. But, you know, and it is a weird thing. It is a weird thing. And I do feel there's more competition in music now than there has been. And I feel that's a bad thing. I don't ever feel that anybody should ever be in competition with anybody else, especially in music. I think it has a way of distracting you from being yourself. Because if you look at a guitarist who people say is better than you, and because they're 8-finger tapping or they're sweep picking, and you go, I've got to do that because that's what an awesome guitarist is, but I don't actually want to do that, but people have told me I've got to do that because that's what a great guitarist is. It leads you down the wrong path, you know what I mean? You've got to follow your own path, you've got to do what you want to do, and you've got to make the guitar do what you want it to do, not what other people tell you it should be doing, you know, and that's really important, I think. You know, I don't think you should ever kind of like follow other people's paths. You follow your own, you know what I mean? It's, you know, and so, you know, another question I got on Q&A Wednesday was like, you know, how do you play fast? And again, that's kind of like, you know, that's not a prerequisite. Being able to play fast is not a prerequisite for being an amazing guitarist. I mean, you look at people like Dave Gilmour, you know, Eric Clapton, B.B. King, you know, Buddy Guy, Buddy Guy has his moments, but still, you know, all these guitarists are legends, but they're not shredheads. You know what I mean? They're not Yngwie Malmsteens and Steve Vais. They're not technically kind of like, at the top of the food chain, but they're still legends and they're still awesome guitarists because, even Jeff Beck, he never plays super, super fast, but what he plays is like, I can't deal with the emotion. You know what I mean? It's really powerful. Same with Jimi Hendrix. It's Jimi Hendrix, Peter Green, John Frusciante. All these guitarists, their biggest moments are when they're not super shredding. Look at the Comfortably Numb solo by Pink Floyd. It's just absolutely unreal. There's so much in it, especially the live version. You are literally like just on this roller coaster all the time. It's absolutely gorgeous. And and I think that's kind of one of the things. Like I said, I don't like competition in music. I think it's nonsense. I think it's stupid, and I don't think it's very. It's not a healthy thing to be in competition. It's like, well, I'm better than you. It's like, woo for you. You know what I mean? Who cares? At the end of the day, who cares who's better than who? Or who did what to who? It doesn't. It really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Just, as long as you're happy and the guitar is doing what you want it to do, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing or what anybody else tells you should be doing. If you're happy, that's all that matters. I've had comments towards my guitar playing on the YouTube channel and live. Some people saying you're not technically very good. Oh yeah, really? I mean, what you do is technically not very proficient, but sounds alright. It's like, I'm not after being like technical. If you want me to go up there and shred all day, you'll get bored very quickly. Trust me, and I will as well. I don't see the point. Like, and I think I said in Q&A, it's like, shredding and stuff, playing fast like that is definitely like painting with black only. And that's what you're gonna make. Nothing. But coming back to the whole thing of is the guitar dead? This should be called. This video should be called like, is the guitar dead? ? Beware of tangents. But yeah, coming back to the question, no, the guitar's not dead. Will it ever die? No. As long as one person's playing the guitar still lives, and there's millions of people playing the guitar. Yeah, so is the guitar dead? No. Anybody who thinks that, you're fooling yourself. It's it's very far from dead. Like I say, the guitar is always going to be a teenager. I think it's going to constantly reinvent itself and just kind of like it's going to gradually mature into kind of something else here and there. But the guitar is always going to be there. It's never going to reach midlife or end of life. You know what I mean? It'll be around long after we're not. I'm afraid to say that. But that's I'm not afraid to say that. I'm happy to say that. I'm so happy knowing the fact of like when I'm no longer here, my guitars will still be here, and hopefully they'll still be making music and not just kind of like left in a corner somewhere. It makes me happy to think that like certain things carry. You know what I mean? It's awesome. It's really awesome. I love the idea of like music being a constant. Because it is. Music is the only thing that really without music, what's the point? That's my opinion on things. But and so how many people have said that throughout history? But yeah, so people of the tube, let me know. Not particularly on video today, but I'm going to wrap it up here. But yeah, people of the tube, let me know what you think, because I reckon this discussion is silly. I mean, if you think the guitar is dead or dying, let me know in the comment section below. If you think that's nonsense, let me know in the comment section below as well. And let's, no, I don't want anybody saying bad things or kind of like turn into a bloody slagging match or anything like that. I don't want any of that. Let's be, just have a bit of a discussion about it. Let's not kind of resort to kind of like, going, well, I think it is. Well, I don't think you're right. Well, I think I am. Well, I don't like you anymore. Well, I don't like you either. You know what I mean? It's none of that nonsense. That doesn't make any difference. We're all here because we all love the guitar. We all love music, and that's all that matters. And and if that doesn't, and if YouTube doesn't show how much the guitar isn't dead, I don't know what will. If that won't convince people that the guitar's still around and extremely strong in its presence, then I don't know what is. Yes, in popular culture and popular music, yes, maybe the guitar has taken a bit of a back seat. But the fact of the matter is, it's still here. It will always be here, and there is nothing anybody can do to get rid of it. It will always be around, and that's the way it's going to be. And as long as I'm breathing, I'm going to make sure it stays that way. You know, it's as simple as that. I love playing the guitar. I will always love playing the guitar, and I will play the guitar until I no longer can. You know what I mean? That's because it's my little. It's my escape, you know what I mean? That intro jam today was a proper little escape for me. It really took me... in all fairness, I was kind of getting a bit stressed out at the concept of this video. And that intro jam really took me down. It really relaxed me to a point where I was quite... No, I'm quite ready to talk about this now and be quite... calm about it but passionate about it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, quite happy to kind of like, you know, jabber on about it. So, people of the tube, let me know in the comment section below. Like I say, no nastiness. There's not, you know, if there's any nasty comments, they'll get deleted anyway because I go through all your comments, and, you know, I don't like nasty comments. I don't like bad language, you know, unless it's justified, because certain times it is, you know, let's be honest. But yeah, none of this kind of like, I don't want anybody having a go at anybody else. You know, if you've got an opinion, voice it in the best way you can without using profanity or anything nasty. Just voice your opinion. And if, you know, that opinion is against your opinion and you want to reply to it, then just, again, think about what you want to say and, you know, think about it before you write it. Don't go in hot-headed and full guns blazing. Because, you know, I don't want to see any of that, and none of us want to see any of that, and it's not good for anything. You know, I don't like seeing, like, you see it all over every now and again, like comment sections on YouTube videos where people are just literally laying into each other, and it's just not healthy. That's not a good thing. It's like, you know, we're all stuck on the same rock drifting through space. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, what good do you think, you know, your little 5 pence is going to do, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, just accept that other people aren't going to like certain things you like, you know what I mean? You know, and just move on from it, you know what I mean? If somebody says something you don't like and you don't agree with, go, fair enough, and just look the other way. You know, you don't need to voice your opinion. If you don't like something, you don't have to voice your opinion. You know, you just look the other way. You know, if it's just like, you know, if it's against somebody else, then, and you feel like you can do something about that and think that's wrong, then please, you know, feel free to voice your opinion, but do it in a way that doesn't resort to kind of like that, kind of like, yeah, that silly, either profanity way or just generally just rude and nasty. It's not necessary. You know, people are nasty back then. It's like, you know, it's just silly. It's like what Patrick Swayze says in Roadhouse: always be nice until it's time not to be nice, but always be nice. There's no need for kind of like getting aggroed at each other. It's really counterproductive to everything. It's kind of pointless. It's not kind of pointless. It is very pointless. You know, we're all individual human beings at the end of the day, and we all like our individual things. You know, and sometimes what one person likes, another person won't. But it doesn't give that person the reason to have a go at the other person for saying they're wrong or whatever, you know. Yeah. But anyway, waffled on there. Sorry, everybody. Tangent central. Okay, so yeah, people of the tube, let me know to this question: is the guitar dead? I don't think so. I don't think it'll ever die. I reckon it's a silly thing that people have just kind of bought up, and I don't think it's very true. People of the tube, let me know what you think in the comment section below. Like I say, just voice your opinions, but do not resort to kind of like being aggressive or nasty about it. Just kind of like, you know, think about what you want to say and really go through what you want to say before you start typing. Okay, so let me know, people of the tube, in the comment section below, and I will see you again on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. And yes, I will see you again Monday. Have a great morning, afternoon, good evening. Goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this hasn't been too boring. Goodbye now. Thank you very much for watching. 2 forms today.